In this video, you'll set up a new local development environment and then migrate a copy of the live site into it as a staging area. Using this series of steps, you'll make edits to a copy of your live site in the local staging area, then upload the new version to the live server. In this way, the updates will be instant with no downtime for the live site. You'll learn how to safely edit a live website without risk of damaging or losing the live site and without your changes visible to the public during your process. You'll learn to avoid the so-called cowboy coding, which is to work on a live website directly without a safety net if something goes wrong. So the idea is that we have a live site. This one is hosted at SiteGround, and I'm logged in here on the back end. I've labeled it Fireweed Photography Live Site 1 in the title as well as in the URL here. So the idea is that we'll take an exact copy of our live site and install it into the local development environment, whichever one you're using. I'll show you how to do it with MAMP as well as how to do it with Local by Flywheel using our duplicator migration plugin. So here's your challenge. With whichever local development environment that you're using, create a new area on the server where you can install and migrate the live site into your local development environment. See how you go. Now in Local by Flywheel, creating a new WordPress site environment involves hitting the plus button and actually creating a working WordPress site. So I'm going to title the site the same as my live site and just hit continue and go through all the steps in Local by Flywheel in order to set up a new site. Now, as you know, with Local by Flywheel, that's going to actually download WordPress and install it, including setting up the database and everything you need. It'll be a fresh WordPress installation. However, by using the duplicator plugin, we don't really need that live environment. In fact, we want to get rid of all the WordPress files and even empty the database so that the area is prepared to install using the duplicator plugin. So if I look at live site 1, I have it clicked here, I can go down and see the site path is local sites / live site 1. Now if I open up my Explorer, in Windows, under Windows and Users and my username, there's always a folder called Local Sites. On a Mac, it's usually in a very similar location under Users, the username, and a folder called Local Sites. So I can see that I have the live site 1, and in Local by Flywheel, there's a few other folders nested inside that folder name. So we go to App and Public, and there's where we see our WordPress files. So really, we don't need any of them. I'm going to go ahead and just delete them. And I have an empty folder in live site 1 / app / public. And that's where we're going to place the duplicator migration files. Now, I also want to go into the database for this live site 1. And I want to go under Database and then click Adminer. And this is similar to PHP-MyAdmin that we use in MAMP, but it's just a database manager. And if I'm looking at this database, if I click the box at the top for all the tables, I'm just going to get rid of all these tables. Drop is database speak for getting rid or deleting the database tables. Are you sure? Okay. So the tables have been dropped. We have no tables, but we do have an active database. In Local by Flywheel, under the Database tab, you can see that since I deleted all the files, Local by Flywheel is unable to find the WP config file. However, the default for Local by Flywheel databases is the host is localhost, the name is local, and the username and password are both root. We'll need to know that information when we set up the duplicator plugin to migrate the site to this new location. Now, when using MAMP, we can start out by just creating a folder inside of our htdocs folder. And I have that open here, Windows C:, my MAMP folder and htdocs. And I'll just create a new folder here for this migrated site. live site 1. Again, this will be our environment inside of MAMP. And inside of that folder, that's where we'll place the duplicator plugin package files. Now the last step is to create the database. And so if I go under Tools and PHP MyAdmin, or there's also a link right there on the start page, it'll show all the website databases that you already have. And if you just click Databases at the top, or you could even click New over here on the left hand side, it gives you the databases page, and we can choose a name for our database, LiveSite1, and just click Create. Now there's no tables found in the database, but as you know, the duplicator plugin will populate those. Okay, one more step, and here's the challenge for you. Go back to your live website and go into the dashboard and install and activate the duplicator plugin if it's not already, and create a new package. Move those files over to your local hosting environment, and then use the installer.php file from the duplicator plugin to duplicate and migrate your site. Good luck! I'll just quickly show you once again how you can do this quickly in case it will help. I go to create a new package, just click next. I'm on my live site now, letting it scan. Okay, I can click build. Now it's building the package. Takes usually just a few seconds. And let's see if I can download both files. I'll save the installer.php and the archive file. Now that both of those files have downloaded, I'm going to open my downloads folder here, and I'll move it over to the public under my live site 1 in local by flywheel. If you see this file inside of your public after you've emptied it out, that's just a file that local uses so that you can access the database. So just leave that alone. And it's this installer file that I just downloaded. Now it's called installer 2, and that's just because I had downloaded other versions of the installer and they were still in my downloads folder. I'm just going to rename that so it's the standard installer.php file. Back in local by flywheel, I can look under overview under my livesite1 domain. I can see the site domain is livesite1.local. Just to make it easy, I will copy that and paste it in my browser in a new tab /installer.php. That should open the duplicator plugin. Just a couple more steps and I'll have my site completely copied and migrated over into local by flywheel. Now I have to remember what the standard database credentials are in local by flywheel. I can check here under the database. Now this is interesting. The site isn't really completed yet, but local by flywheel can see the WP config file and it's looking at the database and username password from the live site, which won't be correct. In local by flywheel, it's just very simple. It's localhost, the database name is always local, and the username and password are both root in the local environment. So let's go back to the duplicator plugin. Oops, I almost put that wrong database name in there. Make sure you just call it local, and then the user will be root, and the password will be root. So we'll hit next, and then yes, and it looks like it's successfully installed the database. We could say livesite1, that's fine, we'll leave it named what it is. I can click admin login now, and it'll ask me to log into the new site. Already I can see that it's at livesite1.local up here at the top. Oops. Alright, it's been successfully migrated. Now of course let's remove the installation files, which is a good habit. And now we have an exact copy at livesite1.local. Let's go back into local by flywheel, and if I go back into the database tab now, it's the correct database name, username, and password. Now when we do that same thing in MAMP, the only difference is that the name of our database is not localhost, it's livesite1 in this example. While migrating to a local development environment to make changes and then migrating your site back to the live environment certainly works very well, there's a few steps involved. Most hosting companies these days will provide a staging environment where with one or two clicks you can create it, make changes, and then press a button to push it to the live site to overwrite the old site and have your new changes live without any downtime. However, it's great to know how to do it this way in case you want to play with moving sites back and forth between different environments for experimentation, or if you just want to take care of everything yourself. In this video, you've set up an entire local development environment for staging working copies of a live website, and you migrated an exact copy into your staging environment. Nice job! In the next video, you'll transform the site into something completely different just by changing the theme and editing some of the content areas. Then you'll take your new design live. Let's do it!